Everybody, Joe Gonzalez here. What is it, like 1 o'clock on Thursday afternoon? And as we go into this holiday season and what sounds like in many parts of the countries, more lockdowns and more tyranny happening, I just thought, let's put out something so that everybody understands what's going on here. So let's get this straight. The big businesses will stay open and get all your money. The small businesses will be closed and lay off people. Then the government will authorize stimulus to print fake money to pay unemployment and salaries and have people pay their taxes to be able to still run the government and to spend at these said businesses. Then the small businesses will get loans to stay afloat using more fake money that's loaned out through the banks. Then the big businesses will get bailouts, and their bonds are bought by the Fed, the Federal Reserve, the central bank, so that these companies can then issue more debt because the Fed has agreed to keep interest rates really low and keep stock prices high. Then the big banks will get bailed out by the Fed because they can create these bank reserves out of thin air, because the reality is commercial real estate should be dropping in value because the tenants, the small business tenants or the companies, don't need as much space, and many tenants are not paying rents, and therefore the bank's collateral is not worth as much. Then the businesses who made the bad choices to invest in things like commercial real estate, their bonds, or the real estate itself, or maybe zombie companies, those are companies that aren't producing enough cash flow but they can issue debt in this crazy low interest rate market, they get bailed out by the Fed because the Fed can then create this money and then swap these toxic assets that are on the books of the banks and then these other investment firms for bank or for government debt notes. Okay, so they just swap, and then the Fed becomes the owner of the bad things, and the other businesses basically get bailouts. Then the small businesses, they're going to go under because the habits of the consumers change during these lockdowns and there's just not enough cash flow. Or, believe it or not, now they have to make a choice with a $15 an hour minimum wage or technology that's coming to replace these jobs. So that's obviously hurting people even more. And then that means more stimulus is needed because technology and minimum wage created more laid off workers. Then the big businesses that are that got all these bailouts and everything else, and they actually get to pay less in taxes because that's just the way it works. They can write off more things and they have a lower marginal tax rate than employees. Then more stimulus is needed to run the government because we are in a deficit spending mode. The government is just too big and there's too many obligations, and 57% of our what GDP I think is based on government or something like that. I forget what the number is, but obviously there are more and more employees in government who don't miss a paycheck, so they got to print more money. Then you realize we're printing fake money to keep the entire economy alive, and your taxes will be going up for it, and your purchasing power is decreased due to inflation as more of these go out into the market eventually. Then these are worth less and less, which means the prices are going up and more dollars are chasing fewer and fewer goods. But most people think everything is okay because their 401k is going up in value. Meanwhile, the people who never own stocks or don't have a savings account can't afford to pay. They can't afford to pay the rent, and they can't have a car payment or whatever to get something nice or even buy food because all the prices are going up. And the only winners are the big businesses and the ones who took out all the big loans and took all the risks and got bailed out, and they can also raise their prices. And meanwhile, they could have just paid everyone $100 an hour for doing nothing rather than $15 an hour if they're just going to be spending all this, creating all this fake money and sending it everywhere and bailing out these companies. And then you just let the people decide where they're going to spend the money and what risks they are willing to take, being out and about, considering all things going on. And you realize you're trapped in this big fat Ponzi scheme that controls the dollars, controls the interest rates, and all the outcomes, with all the, quote, crooks at the top. I mean, this is a giant Ponzi scheme, and it doesn't matter whether you support Republicans or Democrats, because they don't work for you. They work for their beneficiaries of this fake money Ponzi scheme that can just put out more and more money and create it out of thin air in order to buy things that they feel like they should be buying right now to control the whole economy. So you see, the Republicans are not the problem. The people are not the problem. The system of fiat money creation and the Federal Reserve and big businesses running the politicians for the outcomes that they want is the actual problem. This is why nothing will get better, and we'll have a continuous spiral downward and more centralized control of our freedoms. So we're going to have a loss of freedoms and a loss of choices until we return to a sound money system. And this is what Trump means by make America great again, is because what that would do is give power back to people and out of the hands of the politicians and the big banksters and the big businesses. And I take it a step further and I say, I'd like to make money great again. And that means one that's backed by gold, for example, where it makes sure that they cannot create all of these out of thin air. There's actually a throttle to it. You can only create so much based on how much gold is in reserve. And therefore, all this fake money can only benefit a few people because they have the ability to take on debt when everybody else doesn't have the ability to take on debt, because all these is debt obligations, and uses leverage to create more of these. Okay, so if you put a throttle on it, it actually brings it down and takes out the inflation and the, if you didn't have $185 trillion that have benefited the system over the past 40 years, real estate prices wouldn't be sky high, costs wouldn't be sky high. That's all created because debt just layers on top of debt, and what it does is inflate the prices. So a gold-backed system or something like that would put a throttle and a governor on this, so that we grow more organically and our wages actually stay in line, better in line with our purchasing power, because the goods should actually be going down through technology. So if you want to learn more about how an investment in gold and or silver may help protect against this declining fiat currency Ponzi scheme system that we have going on, this fake money system that is going on right now, I have a group called Financial Patriots. And what I mean by Financial Patriots is we are the ones that recognize this crazy system that we're in. And with everything that's going on, our dollars are only based on trust. And it's just because the government says they're worth something. And how much trust do you really have in the system when you see everything that's going on, and the fraud that's happening, and the fact that the market continues to go up while people are suffering and jobs are lost? So a financial patriot is somebody who recognizes how to get out of the system or do their part to get out of the system. And again, make money great again. Message me if you want to understand how gold and silver can help hedge against a declining dollar, or just want to learn more, or want to be in the Financial Patriots group. Thanks for checking it out.